Hi, welcome back. In the previous videos, we looked at parallel lines and proportional parts as they relate to transversals and to triangles. And then we looked at a key error tip that, again, with the triangles, it only works for the really with either one, it only works for the non-parallel parts. If you're working with a parallel section, you have to redraw your picture into its separate parts and use the whole sides of the triangle. Okay? Let's look at another type of proportions that we can look at, or relationship that we can look at in triangles. And this is called mid-segments of a triangle. The mid-segment of a triangle is a segment with endpoints that are midpoints of two sides of the triangles. So if I look here, I can see that RP is a mid-segment. Because of my double tick marks here and here, I know this is a mid-segment because I have midpoints, right? Since it's the same length here and here, it's a midpoint. So R is a midpoint, double tick mark, double tick mark. P is a midpoint, double tick mark, double tick mark. So RP is a mid-segment. Q is a midpoint because three tick marks, so it's the same length on each side. So Q is a midpoint, which means RQ is also a mid-segment. And PQ is also a mid-segment. So these are mid-segments of triangle ABC. Okay? Now, there's two things we need to know about the mid-segment. The mid-segment is parallel to one side of the triangle. Okay? So we've got midpoints, and it also ends up being that it is parallel to one side. Now, it's obviously not going to be parallel to the side it intersects, right? So this one here is going to be parallel to BC. Okay? RQ is going to be parallel to AB. And PQ is going to be parallel to AC. I'm just putting my matching parallel symbols. Okay? But that's not it. The mid-segment is not only parallel to the side that it's not intersecting, it's also, its length is 1/2 the length of the parallel side. So for example, what that means is if I know how far it is from B to C, I know R to P will be half of that. So let's say this whole distance was, I don't know, let's say it's 30. Then this distance here would be half of that, 15. Okay? And you can work backwards. If you know the mid-segment, you know how big the little tiny mid-segment is. Let's say I know that this piece here was 12. Then that means it was half of this one over here, so this whole side would be 24. And sometimes another way you'll see it is they'll only give you half of the side of the triangle. So let's say they said that this was 8. So from P to B is 8. Well, I know P is a midpoint. So that means this piece here is also 8, which would tell me that this whole side is 16. And then the mid-segment is half of that. So this would be, oops, not 16, but half of that, it would be 8. Okay, that's an 8. It's hard to tell. Okay, so it's parallel to the side it's not intersecting, and it's also half of that side. Okay, 1/2 the parallel side. So let's look at some examples using that. Okay, I have two examples. It says J, H, and P are midpoints, find X. So J is a midpoint, H is a midpoint, and P, we don't have one of those in this picture. But I can tell that this is a mid-segment, which means it's parallel to the side it doesn't touch, and it's half the length. So 5 is half of this side, so this side X must be 10. Okay? When I look at the next one, again, J, P, and H are midpoints. I don't have a P, but I do have a J. And I do have an H. If those are midpoints, that makes JH a mid-segment, which means it's parallel to this side, and it's half of that side. So if that side's 22, then X must be 11. Okay? Okay? So that is the triangle mid-segment theorem, a nice, simple, short little theorem that doesn't require a whole lot of actual computation. So that's kind of a nice little thing about the mid-segment there. Okay? In the next video, we're going to start reviewing those different topics we just talked about. We have our parallel lines with proportional parts, the mid-segment that we just talked about, and then triangle proportionality as well. So we're just going to do a little review remaining left in these notes of what we've gone through during this whole lesson. All right, thank you so much for watching.